I'm so excited to have Carrie on the podcast today. She is someone that's in rapid transformation class with me. One of my favorite things about her is there are a lot of people that are takers in this world, and then there are some people that are givers and they're humble and they're selfless and they're kind and they just have this genuineness and warmth about them. And I'm so lucky that I got connected with Carrie through this class because I feel like Carrie is one of those people. And before I go into introductions and all that stuff, I just want to lay the foundation that today, personally for me, and it seems like maybe for Carrie, we've been going through some stuff. And still what makes a special person like Carrie so powerful to be around is when you're going through struggling, when you're going through rough times, when you meet a person like Carrie and they can still be positive and they still have this energy and this enthusiasm that brings you up, that draws you in. I feel so lucky to be in the presence of someone like that. Carrie has a medical background. I don't totally understand what it is that you practice in, but I know we deal with pain. And so from there, Carrie, can you tell us a little bit more about your practice and how you manage pain? And then I'm going to ask some questions.
Yeah, thank you. It like make me cry. That was very kind. Yes, I am an osteopathic physician in Michigan. I have a background in family medicine and sports medicine, and I recently opened my private practice that focuses on osteopathic manipulation and the treatment of chronic pain without the use of medications.
Super cool. And so for those of us that are lay people like me, I had to Google osteopathic because I had a surgeon in my family that was, what's the bone one? Orthopedic.
Yeah.
And so I'm like what, like, is it like bones but muscle? And so I had to Google it. And so is it, what I got from the definition was very much looking at the body as a system, which is something I am so passionate about.
It is, yeah. It's mind, body, soul, mind, body, spirit. It's treating the whole person. We definitely have a more holistic approach. And then we also learn this manipulation, hands-on diagnosis and therapy through adjustments and gentle manipulations.
So I think thankfully my memory is not so good, which leads me to, we had met once before, you and I chatted. And I know I asked you why you fell into this, and I remember talking about your love for other people and wanting to help other people through pain, but I don't remember your answer. And so for our audience and also for me for the second time, how did you fall into this field? What is it that you love about working with the people? I mean, the general public can be difficult, right? Why do you love helping people find ways of alleviating pain? And like, how did you fall into this?
My initial track was through sports medicine. I was an athlete growing up and I out into athletic training. That was my undergrad. And through working with the two physicians, I started to move towards medicine. I there was just a little bit more that I wanted to do. So I went to med school with the intention of going into sports medicine, which I did. And through that process, and after being out as a primary care physician and a team physician for about 8 or 9 years, I kind of discovered this newfound passion for treating chronic pain, um, both because of my own chronic pain journey and because that was primarily the patient population I was seeing. And so with my own chronic pain, I then discovered this neuroscience work that focuses on rewiring the brain. And once I was then able to treat myself, I was like, oh my gosh, everyone needs this. Everyone that has this mind body pain or neuroplastic pain, they all need to know about this because there's no reason why people should be suffering for the rest of their lives with this kind of thing.
It's funny that you say that because I think what led me to stepping back for a second, what led me going to Rapid Transformation, which is the class where I met you, was like I I'm at this place in my life where so many people in my family and friends are like, why don't you just work for a big company like us and do this thing that you don't really love for 30 years? And I'm like, no, like there has to be another way. There has to be a life in which I can do something that I love, that I can help people, and that I don't have to hate my life for 30 years, get to retirement age, I can barely walk, and now I can finally travel. Like, it didn't make sense to me. And so though it's not the same, there are some parallels which are so interesting towards you saying that people don't have to live with this pain and there's a better way. Am I allowed to talk about the course? Because I know that you have a practice there in Michigan where you physically see people. Can I also talk to our viewers potentially about what you have going on online?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
So I know in our last conversation we talked a little bit about your course, which is so cool because I think a lot of people in our class and in other classes that I've been in around making offers and starting businesses, they're struggling to get a following. But you already have so many people that are like interested in this online class and have come to you just through your passion and talking about it. It sounds like people have been attracted to you. And so can you tell us a little bit about how what the online course is like, how it's different from your in-person brick and mortar business and what you're doing online?
Yes. So I'm actually in the building stage where I don't have a specific course yet. I'm in the process of creating, but I do have one-on-one coaching. So what that looks like is coaching for people with chronic pain, using those pain reprocessing therapy principles, so rewiring the brain. I incorporate some other coaching tools that I've learned over the years that help with just kind of how we think, the thought work type models. And so I use that in order to help people one-on-one virtually so they can be anywhere in the world. And while I have my physician background, I take my physician hat off for that. And it's purely a coaching relationship. So currently it's one-on-one. However, I am going to have a group program probably in the fall, but I'm in the process of creating that.
I had a question about the course and it's already eluded me. Um, but oh yeah, this is it. I've been wanting to ask this forever since we've been talking, and this thought keeps popping in and out of my brain. How much of pain, if I can ask, is actually just a mental game versus how much of pain is physical? Because this whole conversation from like a year ago, I'd be like, this lady's crazy. Like pain is just physical. It's in the body. Like anyone that tells you otherwise is nuts. And then I've been on this whole journey of like Joe Dispenza and this and that, and Dr. Benjamin Hardy and all these people that are flipping the script upside down for me. So how much of pain is what we actually think it is of just like I hurt, I prick my arm and it hurts, and that is what it is, and how much of it's actually stuff we can't see?
It's a very interesting question. So all pain comes from the brain. No matter if you step on a nail or you have that, phantom sensation in your pocket, your phone's ringing. I know that's not pain, but it's the same kind of thing. Like, and you check and your phone's actually not vibrating. That's the same thing. Our brain creates all pain and actually all sensations, all physical sensations. It's just how our brain interprets various signals from the body or how it processes certain emotions. So some people tend to have more physical sensations when they have emotional check things going on. So all pain comes from the brain. You step on a nail, there's a signal sent from your foot to your brain. Your brain receives that signal, processes it, and says, ouch, that's sharp and pain. And you lift your foot up and you look at it and clean it and whatever. Or if you step on a nail as you're running for the tiger, your brain's like, nope, we've got bigger dangers right now. No pain, keep running. So, so it's kind of a long-winded way of saying all pain's in the brain, all pain comes from the brain, but not so much like mental. It's that our brain, there's kind of two parts. There's the conscious and the unconscious. And most of what our brain is doing is in our unconscious brain. We're not thinking about it. If we did, we'd be exhausted. We'd never be able to get anything done because our brain is doing so much all day, every day. So, however, we can hijack some of that or rewire some of that unconscious processing by using our conscious brain. And so we can reprogram, reteach, relearn, unlearn things, just like we learned how to talk and ride a bike. Our brain does the same thing with actually peeing at times. And so for some people, they might have had an injury and their brain actually learned that pain loop. And so even after the injury has healed, the brain keeps going through that pain loop from uh, stimuli that aren't actually painful, like just touching the spot or thinking about something stressful, and our brain goes through that pain loop. So it's all, and that feels exactly the same as the pain that was from the structural damage, let's say the nail. It feels exactly the same. And so that's what gets really confusing for people is they're feeling the same thing. And it's like, this is visible. It's actually coming from the brain in that in a chronic situation where it's unlearned, but it feels the same because that loop has already been programmed.
Whoa. Okay. So there's so many things I want to touch on. Number one, the nail thing makes me laugh because I stepped on a nail the other day.
No
I
way.
live in an old silk mill. And so I was like walking around, I had just vacuumed, and I guess one of the old needles was sticking up, and I stepped right on it, and I was like, something doesn't feel right. And I looked down at this rusty old needle, and it had a silk thread in it, and I was so frustrated. But and it's funny that you talk about the brain and pain because the brain has no pain receptors in it, right? Like,
Right.
but it's like where the nexus of all the processing is. So it's like so weird. It's so counterintuitive. Um, and so asking the same question. So I asked about, is it like how much of it's mental? I guess thinking about that same question, how much of it then is emotional? Because it sounds like there's this huge emotional component to something that's physically happening. How much of it is like emotional rewiring?
That's hard. That's I think that's a harder question to know how much of it. In people that have chronic pain, and especially learned pain, so not coming from structural causes, there's a heavy emotional component. And whether that's the chicken or the egg, that's a little bit hard to say. I know for me, when I was in the worst part of the initial injury, the initial pain, it created such fear that years later, if I had anything that felt like a sick tweak, I immediately was so wrapped up in fear, like legit fear that I was going to go back to that completely debilitated, worst pain of my life state. And that ramped up my pain. So, I can't give you like a 50%, 80%, that kind of a thing, but we know that there's a large component, and more for some people than others. I think for me, it tends to be a larger component. And for me too, I tend to maybe not listen to my emotions so much. And so eventually my body's like, hello, you're not listening. And the pain comes out. This means a danger signal. So if I'm not listening to other danger signals, my brain's like, okay, how about listen to this one? And so then I get that pain. So um, I hope that is close to answering.
Yeah. So that's a great segue because, my audience here, the people that are mostly listening are people that are like, they're starting a company, they have a company, they want it, they maybe have a career, but they want to get out of it and start their own business or have their own side gig. And I think, um, I've been making a couple of videos really talking about, everybody knows about compounding, like compounding interest and all this stuff. And it's very well understood. It's like the seventh wonder of the world, Thomas Edison's quotes on it. Like everybody understands it. But what you're touching on, and I think a lot of people overlook, is the power of negative compounding. And so it's like if we have things going on in life or thoughts that we're like repeating, like everybody knows somebody that has some disease. It could be cancer, it could be something else, that they ate the right things, they exercise, and it's like, what's going on? And my belief is so many of us have these unhealthy loops. Maybe it's just emotional pain, maybe it's physical pain that became emotional, or all these different things, but it's pain in some way. And it's like they don't know how to disarm the bomb, if you will, that's just running. And it's like this death by a thousand cuts. I once heard a quote, and it was like, do you know what the most deadly animal in the world is? And I was like, no. And I was like, lions, tigers, elephants, something big and scary, right? And they were like, no, it's a mosquito. And it's like, it's the same thing with, could be with our thoughts, or these like the pain that we allow to happen over long periods of time. It's like we don't disarm it and it becomes a problem. And so I think what you do is so powerful because it helps pattern interrupt that cycle of pushing it down. It's not a problem. Like, I know for me, when you were talking about this, I'll like throw my back out sometimes. I'll be at the gym doing something and it's like maybe I moved in the wrong way or whatever, but a lot of times it's like when I'm going through something, like you and I talked before this call, like we both have stuff going on this week. And in a week or two, I might find that metastasizing somewhere in my body as like a muscle that's like knotted. And it's like, I have a trainer, like I'm doing all this stuff. I'm stretching, I'm taking hot baths, cold showers, whatever. I'm doing stuff like I'm getting my salt, I'm getting my electrolytes. And it's like, and I'm like, I think that was emotion. I think that was me not listening to something that I should have been doing. And which actually brings to the question, is meditation or like awareness a part of your practice at all?
It is. It's a specific type of meditation. Uses a lot of visualization and affirmations. And then there's another type that I guess you could call it like a meditation. It's a mindfulness practice that's specifically toward the sensations that someone is feeling in the body.
I guess as we start to wrap or get close to time, who who is your dream customer? Like, what does the dream customer look like for you, or who's your typical customer? Who do you like to work with? What does that person look like? Because in my mind, I know you, and I feel like you're a high achiever type of a person. And so, do you attract those kind of people? Are they kind of people that always want to get better? Like, what does the in your brick and mortar practice, but also going forward in your online course and your one-on-one coaching, like, what does your ideal customer look like?
That's very interesting. You say that because there are some personality traits that are higher risk, I guess you could say, for developing a neuroplastic or learned key syndrome. And funny enough, I have several of them. It's like, type A and want to get things right, or perfectionism, and, this whole list of things. And, I think my journey and my background, I tend to attract more of the athletic population, especially with my sports medicine background. Especially even if we go even further, another subset of that is more like performing arts and aesthetic sports, like figure skating, gymnastics, dance, those kinds of things. But I work with anyone that has chronic pain, and the people that benefit the most are the ones that have the neuroplastic or learned pain, the mind body syndrome. There's so many names for it. And the second piece is they actually want to do the work to get better, because this isn't, taking a medicine. This is not passive at all. This does require some effort. It's not a lot, but it definitely requires some effort.
Well, I hope that's a lot of my audience, because I do push a lot that like people either have the growth bug or they don't. They constantly want to be getting better, or they are the kind of person that's like they're looking for comfort. And actually, I just one of my closest friends, I just saw he caught it, and for a while he was going through an unemployment season. Then he was, I just need to make money, I just need to get a job, and he finally landed a job. And now he's like, I feel like I'm stagnating. Like, I missed the couple months where I was unemployed because I was just exponentially growing and reading and whatever. And so I feel like a lot of people in my audience, they fit in that camp because they always want to be better in every arena. It's funny because I'm actually just going to go meet with a gym trainer after this call, because I feel like my body's not where I want it to be. My brain's leveled up. I'm working with Ben. We're working with Ben. Like, now it's time for my body to like go to the next level. And so I hope people listening, they fit into that camp. If they do, or if people are interested in working with you, two questions. When do you think the time frame is for your course to come out? That's question one. And then number two is, where can people go today if they want to explore one-on-one coaching with you?
So my course, I'm aiming for September. I feel like summer gets a little tricky for people's schedules, and so September is kind of what I'm aiming for a group program. Um, and as far as getting a hold of me, probably the Facebook website for the coaching program. I have a website for my in-person, Serenity Osteopathic Medicine.com. And then my Facebook is Empowered Beyond Chronic Pain.
Empowered Beyond Chronic Pain. And can you say your website one more time?
Serenity Osteopathic Medicine.com is a
Perfect.
really long one.
Yeah, no, I really liked your page though. There was all these like sage colors and greens and stuff, and so I felt like very zen when I was on it. And I'm like, man, my coaching page is a train wreck. Like I need help fixing that, and yours inspired me. So, Carrie, thank you so much for making the time to be with me. I'm so excited as we wrap up our rapid transformation class. I'm excited to see what happens for both of us. Again, I just feel so lucky to have met you. Like just the way that you deliver your what you're working on and who you are and the stuff that you have, this level of genuineness comes across. And I being in a lot of these classes, you see people that are a little bit self-promotional, and I just feel so lucky to have found you. And so thank you for making the time to meet with me.
Ah, thank you. I love everything you're doing. You're doing an amazing job, and it's only going to go up from here for sure.
Thank you.